for those who might not know the model as well, I mean the technology behind the model, a used car vending machine, is in and of itself pretty remarkable. You also search for and vet used cars on the company's site. You either have it delivered to your door in as little as 24 hours, or you collect a new car to you at one of those 28 fully automated coin operated contraptions, as Fortune wrote. And then the vehicle's dispensed on demand, completely prepped, ready for your ride home. A pretty simple concept. But it wasn't your first concept. You actually failed first in your first idea. Talk to me a little bit about Ludarang.
So I'll give you a brief description. This was around the time that Groupon was starting, and so there was kind of all this buzz around, trying to drive consumers to merchants in the real world that they might not have otherwise visited, and what kind of value could be generated in that. And at the same time, Yelp was taking off, and so we thought that if we could generate kind of or get access to a data set of credit card transactions, that we could build models to predict what are merchants in the real world, whether it's food or anything else, that any given consumer would probably like but hadn't yet been to. And then instead of offering these really big discounts, could we go to merchants around, and we started in Phoenix, we go to merchants around Phoenix and get them to offer small discounts, maybe 5%, 10%, but just small inducements that would get someone to try something they'd never tried before. And then could we kind of split up the benefit with the merchant of driving new customers to them. And that was kind of the initial idea. And there's actually since been a company called Cardlytics that did it successfully. They partnered up with a bunch of the different credit card companies to get access to the data directly, and then they market through statements, and they've done a good job of that. And they launched, I don't know if it was a little before or a little after, but about the same time that we launched. But they were successful and we weren't. And I think through that experience, we learned a lot. And one thing that we learned that I think is really interesting, and it's a mistake that I think a lot of people make when they assess businesses in retrospect, is you assume that the idea is where all the value is. And I think that this is a case where we had an idea that we thought was pretty good, and the idea ultimately worked. It just worked for someone else, right? And so I think what you learn there is we just weren't good enough to get it done. I think there's a million reasons why that was the case, and I do think luck plays a role in all these things. So things didn't break our way, but I think we learned a lot about what's hard about trying to build something, about being smart about how much you bite off when you're first starting. Picking the directions that you run, and ideally picking directions where you have some pre-existing knowledge, so you're not trying to learn everything all at once. So I think that failure, which was incredibly painful at the time, we went through all the iterations of investing our personal money and then it not working, and believing that we were just about to fix it, and then putting more money in and just getting in deeper than we thought, and then having to have all the tough conversations with people that had worked really hard with us to try to build it, and just basically just having to come clean with this thing that we thought we could do, we couldn't do, and we're out of money and this doesn't work. And going through that experience, I think, taught us a lot and taught me a lot. And I think without that experience, I think it would have been a lot harder to find the success that we've had with Carvana. So I think at the time it was brutally painful, but I think with the benefit of hindsight, it was lucky that we went through that as well.